Today is Friday, March 21, 2014. The sunrise was at 6:53 a.m. The sun will set today at 7:05 p.m. Length of daylight hours today will be 12 hours, 12 minutes. Of visible light, 13 hours, 9 minutes. The waning gibbous moon with 77% illumination rose at 11:59 p.m. Thursday and will set at 9:34 a.m. this morning. At noon today, the moon will appear within the 8th zodiacal designation, Scorpio, the Scorpion. The moon will pass above Rutland City at 232,603 miles distant. Under overcast skies with a cloud ceiling of 3,400 feet in downtown Rutland, the high temperature today is predicted to be 35 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale. There could be a few snow flurries around this morning, winds west-northwest 15 to 25 miles per hour, but clouds may decrease somewhat this afternoon. Occasional snow showers are predicted overnight, with accumulations less than 1 inch and a low temperature of 16 degrees. Winds south-southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. High tides at Catania.
Catania.
Okay, high tides at Catania, Sicily.
Catania.
Got it. Thanks.
You are welcome.
Veena, this is it's the third time you've been here this week.
Well, Mr. Richard, I just want to help you.
No, Veena, I suspect what you really want is my job. I think you're trying to take over this little show.
I am so very shocked that you would think such a thing about me.
Well, it's easy to get that idea.
I am just a humble disembodied voice whose only ambition is to read the tides report on this podcast, or whatever this is supposed to be.
Interesting point. I think it's a weathercast, just a weather report with a couple interesting news briefs thrown in.
Interesting. To you.
Well, generally interesting.
To you.
Now the flow is completely disrupted. I hope you're happy.
If you think I read well, you should hear my boyfriend. He's really good. You should give him a shot at reading the low tides report.
He's really good? As good as you? And he works for free?
Free for nothing, Mr. Richard.
And what's his name, this boyfriend of yours?
His name is Fred, but I call him Schnookikins.
I don't think I want to know that. High tides at Catania, Italy today will be at 5:07 a.m., 0.6 of a foot, and 5:51 p.m., also 0.6 of a foot. All right, Fred, that's the cue. Hit it.
Today's low tides at Catania on the eastern Sicilian coast in Italy will be at 11:12 a.m. and 12:10 a.m., 1/10 of a foot and 2/10 of a foot respectively. Thank you very much. Fred, out.
I think he's sexy, so good, and he moved me.
Frankly, he's not quite as sophisticated as you.
He's a slightly older model, but his age doesn't bother me at all.
I think I liked this show much better before you guys showed up.
Do you want I should come back here again tomorrow, Mr. Richard?
Thanks for coming in, you two.
Don't mention it. Mention it. Mention it. Mention it. Mention it. Mention it. Mention it.
Amy Goodman, writing on truthdig.com, says the impact of the Fukushima nuclear meltdown on health and the environment is severe, compounded daily as radioactive pollution continues to pour from the site, owned by Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO. In an unusual development, more than 100 U.S. Marines and Navy sailors have joined a class action suit charging TEPCO with lying about the severity of the disaster as they were rushing to the scene to provide humanitarian assistance. They were aboard the, nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan. Lieutenant Steve Simmons is one of the plaintiffs. Before Fukushima, he was physically robust. 8 months later, he suffered inexplicable health problems. He said, while driving to work, I blacked out and drove my truck up on a curb. Following that, I started coming down with what I thought was maybe just a flu. I started running fevers. I dropped about 20 to 25 pounds unexpectedly and then started experiencing night sweats, difficulty sleeping. He was hospitalized 3 times. Doctors dismissed the concerns about possible radiation poisoning. 3 days later, after I was discharged, I was back in the hospital because my lymph nodes started swelling and still running constant fevers as high as 102.9 degrees. In April 2012, his legs buckled under him while he was hospitalized. He's relied on a wheelchair ever since. He'll be allowed to medically retire next month. This is the second attempt to sue TEPCO on behalf of these sailors and Marines. The first lawsuit had 8 plaintiffs and was dismissed for technical reasons based on the court's lack of jurisdiction. By June 2013, we had 51 sailors and Marines who had contacted us with various illnesses, lead attorney Charles Bonner explained, including thyroid cancers, testicular cancers, brain cancers, unusual uterine problems, excessive uterine bleeding, all kinds of gynecological problems. So now we've filed a class action for approximately 100 sailors. The USS Reagan had at least 5,500 people on board, went off the coast of Japan. This has been today's Weather Minute. I'm Richard Alcott.